Welcome to Rants and Reels. Tonight, we are talking about Godzilla, King of Monsters.
Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah.
Oh my.
They're moving like a pack. They're hunting. They all respond directly to an alpha. We stop this Ghidorah. We stop them all.
Is there another creature that might stand a chance against him?
My God. Zilla.
Let's talk about Godzilla. First, there was a lot of monster action, but I don't know if there was enough, because there was a lot of build-up and story. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, build-up and story is good, but it may have had a little too much exposition of that story. I think maybe they needed to cut it loose once it was apparent where they were going. Now, I will also say, like most or the traditional monster movies, the Godzilla King of Monsters did have a social commentary aspect to it, which is good. It's terrific that there's that social commentary element to the story, but I don't think they quite nailed it. The film has a huge amount of potential that is not quite reached, but for what it is, it's entertaining. It is extremely entertaining. It is cathartic to watch. It is full of monsters fighting monsters, destruction, awesome visuals. Pretty good monster design as far as, graphics go, but we'll forgive. It's a Godzilla movie, so you can forgive some effects. I mean, this is a series and a franchise that started out with a guy in a rubber suit. So we give it a little slack. There are a few issues. First, I think there were too many monsters, too many opponents, too much conflict, which means you have to introduce each one. You have to build each element up. And every time you do that, you prolong your narrative and you delay the final conflict. That was frustrating. But they managed to keep it going because they had a very dynamic cast. They were able to carry the story in this very heavy narrative, which really was full of ridiculous elements. Very ridiculous, but it's a ridiculous idea. It's a ridiculous series, so that's okay. The social commentary aspect of it, I want to come back to this because I think this is probably the most important part of this film. While I don't think they nailed it perfectly because it's a little hard to pinpoint, but they did have a few messages in there. There was commentary on extremism, commentary on environmentalism, commentary on action versus inaction, commentary on fighting with or working with the planet or the environment. So that was there, but I don't think it was dialed in. I think maybe the filmmakers were afraid of leaning on that button a little too heavy. But I don't think that's something they should have been afraid of. They should have leaned into it because that's what these films do. That's what they're great at. And that's one reason they have lasted so long. Well, that and, monsters. Come on, monsters are cool. They're fun. In King of Monsters, we have, you have Godzilla, you have Rodan, and you have Mothra, and you have, what was the name? Hang on, I had to write the name down because it was one, I'm not quite sure. Ghidorah. That's right. The Hydra. That's what it was. There was too much Rodan. I've never been a big fan of Rodan to begin with, and there was not nearly enough Mothra. They spent a lot of time setting up that character. It's a monster, but it's a character They spent a lot of time setting it up, and the payoff was really cool, but too late. There was too much lead up. By the time you got to the payoff, it wasn't quite worth it. I still enjoyed that payoff, and I still think it was probably some of the best visual aspects of the film, but not enough. Just not enough. Where King of Monsters succeeded, and I don't want to call it the last Godzilla movie, where the last Godzilla movie failed, was kind of like this film spent too much time building up to the Mothra reveal. The previous Godzilla spent too much time building up to the actual Godzilla reveal. Now, I understand the artistic decision behind that was kind of an homage to Spielberg's Jaws, but it doesn't work when you already know what the payoff is. When you know what's coming, what you're getting, what's going to be there, that suspense is just wasted. It turns from suspense to impatience. That's what the last Godzilla film got wrong. Even though I appreciate what they were doing, it didn't work. This film almost made the same mistake with Mothra, but if it weren't for the fact that there were other things going on, frustrating. That's what that is. That's frustrating because there was so much dead time. But again, that dead time was filled with narrative. And I don't really know what else to say about a monster movie like this. I could talk more about the social commentary aspects, but I don't want to talk about those yet because I am still, like I said, not entirely sure I have nailed down what those are. I need to think about that more. So I can't quite talk about those. The visual aspects I already talked about. Some of it was great, terrific, fantastic visuals, absolutely stunning. Some of it was, a little cringy. You see an animation and you can see that it was not quite rendered right. The textures don't quite match, or it's not blending in with the background. Sometimes it does, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the shot and the sequence. Unfortunately, that's a side effect, but like I said, gonna cut the film some slack there because it's Godzilla, and I don't need a flawless Godzilla film. I just don't. Nobody does. It needs to have monsters fighting monsters and, a little bit of commentary. Social commentary on top of monsters. You've got Godzilla. And that's what you got here. Highly enjoyable. They are getting better, and I think when they release the next film, and of course they've already got one planned for 2020, when this next one comes out, I think they are probably going to be right on target. I hope. Based off what I'm seeing here and the trajectory from the last Godzilla to this one, I think their trajectory is right on. All things being equal, this was an excellent Godzilla film and a highly enjoyable action monster film. If you like Godzilla, you'll like this. That's the way it goes. If you are not a fan, you might enjoy it. You might think it's kind of fun, but I don't think you're going to walk away with too much more than that. All right, go see Godzilla, King of Monsters. Decide for yourself. How about that? Thank you for watching. This is Rants and Reels. Good night, everybody.